and having a good time. Actually, just yesterday, I got my, I think you can see this in the video frame. I got my second mic set up here. So I'm very excited. Going to start to get some guests here in the studio to do some podcasting together. So that should be fun. Let me do a quick test just to see if I can see a message from Periscope. Because, oh, cool, came through. All right, so I think I get most of the Twitter messages. I'm also streaming on Twitch and YouTube. So those ones seem to be a little more reliable for posting comments and for me to see them. But so if you post a question on Twitter and I don't see it, just post it again, and then I'll be able to see it. So, all right, topics for today. Some more feedback on startup elevator pitches from an Indie Hackers tweet. Got some good feedback on that, so I'm gonna do some more of that. Cool device for meditation. Self-doubt when doing video. A scary, credible phishing attempt that I saw on Twitter, and then a phishing attempt that I experienced just yesterday. Bemeir's 5th anniversary. Shout out to my buddy Bemeir. Traveling and escapism, and then the Deity bigcomerce partnership. Chris says, shouldn't you be at the gym? Nah, I'm gonna be at the gym in a few hours, bro. I'm gonna be hitting those squats. Today is squats. What's today? Squats. Squats are every day. But then I think I'm doing bench. Yeah, doing bench today. All right. All right, so let's jump in. I tweaked the settings on my microphone a bit, so I got the gain a bit lower. So hopefully when the kids start going crazy in the background, you won't hear that. But my volume might be a little low on the low side. I'm not sure. Hopefully it works out. All right. Okay, so startup elevator pitches. Here we go. So this was a cool thread on Indie Hackers. A bunch of people posting their elevator pitches for startups that they're working on. And then I'm just going through and giving feedback on them. So I'm going to try to avoid the ones I did yesterday and do the rest of these. Okay. Trip to do. List the hottest things to do in cities around the world, ordered by popularity and user rating. That sounds really interesting. That's definitely something that I hear people. I mean, just yesterday, I have a buddy that was going to be in Nashville, and he was looking for recommendations of things to do. So that sounds interesting. I feel like I'd be surprised if that wasn't out there already, something like that. But it's funny. Sometimes the best ideas are like, oh, why doesn't that? I thought that already existed. How did that not already exist? So that sounds good. Okay, Namecame. Available domains delivered. Namecame.com. I don't know what that means exactly. I think that needs to be clearer. Next one, Joao Farrow. How much is your free time worth? That's interesting. That's definitely interesting. And then of course I'm like, my first question is, how's that going to work? How, are you going to measure my free time? Are you like, what are you measuring? What are you doing? But the fact that it piques curiosity is good. So it's a good opener. All right, scrolling down. Some of these I did yesterday. Okay, John Hogg, slippers for cats, which I think was a joke, but I actually think that could work. Like, my buddies that are into cats are like super into cats, like that have pets, and I could see them legitimately buying slippers for them. So I think that was probably a joke, but like, I think that could actually work. Okay. Malachi, Kickstarter, GoFundMe, and WeFunder on a single platform. So I don't know what that means exactly. I mean, I know Kickstarter and GoFundMe. I don't really know much about WeFunder, and I don't know what it would mean to have them all on the same platform. I'm generally more of a fan of specific services, right? So like the fact that Kickstarter and GoFundMe are slightly different and are separate, I think is a good thing. So I'm not seeing the value there personally. Okay. Mr. Yash, Squatty, a data management and marketing system for the institutes, school, preschool, and others. So it sounds kind of generic, like data management is very generic. Marketing system is very generic. The fact that you're picking schools, preschools, and stuff like that does narrow it a little bit, but I think you got to narrow that down a little bit more. Okay, Sumit Kumar, I'm building the most convenient and powerful tools for geospatial data management to save you time and money. So I don't know what that means. Maybe that's because I'm not in the geospatial data space, but I don't know what that means, geospatial data management. So I think if that is for people who, if I should know what that means, then that's a problem. If it's for just a different market than me, then it could be good. Okay, Michael Aubrey, story creator app. Make stunning social media videos in under 5 minutes. Yes, 100% yes. That's something that I've been looking for, obviously, as I've been starting to do these videos, and I've played with some different apps, and there's different pros and cons. If captions are the hardest part, and if there's a way I could do a video, a 1 minute clip captioned in under 5 minutes, and the captions have to be good, right? Because captions can get auto-generated, but there's always errors, so you got to manually go through and tweak them. That would be magic. So that's awesome. Okay, Brandon, building acornbookmarks.com. Which is best? The bookmark manager for productive professionals, number 1. Number 2, a next generation bookmark manager for the 2020s and beyond. Number 3, the only bookmark manager designed for the complexity of today's. So I'm maybe I'm a little distracted, but there's a lot going on here. I'm not sure what all this means. Okay, next up, Emery Basala, custom die lines generator. So I kind of know what die lines are. They're for doing like shirts and stuff like that, I think. So probably if you're in the space, whatever that is specifically, that would make a lot of sense. But to me, I'm like, oh, what does that mean? Okay, Anya, visually understand your users with our pinpointed session replays. Okay, so I've definitely seen this before. I've seen things like this before, like, gosh, what are they called? I can't remember. As a Hotjar. I've definitely seen a lot of these. Mouseflow, I think, was one I used to use back in the day. So the question is, how is this different from the other options out there? Okay, Privism. And by the way, the fact that I'm not pronouncing product name or like stumbling over the pronunciation is an interesting indicator, because as somebody who creates a product, you're so familiar with the name day in and day out, you're using it and stuff like that. So getting somebody who's literally looking at it for the very first time and trying to pronounce it is a good indicator of sort of how easily pronounceable it is. Your privacy news apps and services in one place. So I don't know exactly what that means. I mean, privacy is an important and growing trend. Privacy news is something that sounds interesting. I don't know exactly what news apps and services feels very generic. So I think it's a little generic. Shiva Prabhakaran, simple newsletter to discover high-paying remote jobs in design, marketing, and development. That sounds interesting. There's more of these niche job, marketplaces and websites and stuff like that. So that sounds cool. Spintrace, last one. Easy mileage tracking and fleet management for small businesses. That sounds interesting. So I'm not. If I was a small business owner with a fleet of cars that I was managing, I have a feeling that this would instantly be like yes. But I don't know. So I don't know what existing options are out there. It feels probably like a space where the existing tools are not easy to use. I wouldn't be surprised at all if the tools were like not great. So if that's the case, then that could definitely be a winner. All right, all done with that. That's fun. Next up, a cool device for meditation. This chair is really hard to sit up straight in. It's very easy to lounge. But when you're trying to sit up, have good posture for video, it is a little bit complicated. Let me just check my OBS real quick. Okay. Stream health looks good. Stream health looks good. All right. Let me just check real quick because my YouTube thing was a little wonky in the past. Sometimes it decides it gives me these random error messages about YouTube. not streaming and stuff like that. Okay, cool. That's streaming. Very nice. All right. Next up. Meditation. Okay, so this is a device called Muse. I was twittering with a buddy yesterday about some meditation devices and HRV training. HRV is heart rate variability training. It measures the variability in your heart rate. I learned about it when reading, I think it was Tools for Titans, a book by Tim Ferriss. And it was super interesting. This guy was talking about how he used it. And basically, through breathing and things like that, you can get your heart rate variability. In other words, the rate at which your heart rate is changing to sort of smooth out, which is a good indicator of basically stress. And so I tried this one device. I think it was called Heart Math. And it was pretty cool, but it was I don't know, it was just, I didn't feel like it was mapping very accurately to how I was feeling emotionally. So I was like, I don't know if this is really working. But this device, Muse, is, my buddy told me about it and said that he really loved it. I haven't tried it out yet, but I do want to try it out. And it has a really cool app. And I think the way it works is like it plays like background music at like a beach, or like the sound of waves that maps to sort of how stressed you are. So like if you're feeling stressed out, it's like a really like more tumultuous ocean sound. And then as you calm down, it's more smooth sound. I'm trying to remember the conversation I had about this a little while ago, but it sounded really cool. And I want to check that out. So I've been talking about, different apps related to mental health and things like that. And I think this definitely, falls in that category and is something that's interesting to check out. All right. Next up, self-doubt when doing videos. So every day, usually multiple times per day, I feel like I should stop doing videos. And so it's funny. I was talking to my buddy Steve about this yesterday, but and I think a lot of us are putting more content out in terms of whether it's podcasts or audio, video, and things like that. It's a growing trend, right? And it's just like there's something about video is unique, where there's this crushing amount of self-doubt that you feel when you put something out there. And I've tried to do different types of video and audio a number of times. If you've been following me I've honestly lost count of how many different random podcasts I've started. Mage Talk is the one that's gone the longest. It's been 4 years, and I do with my buddy Philip Jackson, who is, let's just be honest, much more talented than I am in the podcast game. I mean, he's got several podcasts going and doing great. And I say that because I think that's a big part of why that's been successful, is that several reasons. Number one, tag teaming with him. Number two, when you're doing something yourself, it's kind of easier to just give up and drop it. The cord of two strands is not easily broken, kind of a thing. And then just like, the encouragement, because there's something about when you put video out there, you just feel like, oh my gosh, you look at yourself and you're like, oh, I look horrible and things like that. And so many of those things are just really negative and I think not helpful, and it's true that a lot of video content isn't very good and it isn't the kind of thing that as a consumer you want to watch, right? It's hard to get it to be good. I feel like I've been iterating on this and getting a little bit better, but it's still not like very good compared to what's out there. But that doesn't mean, you should stop. Like if you enjoy it or if you have some interest in it, like just go for it, but again, like I've personally experienced so many times where you start doing it and then you give up, and you don't give up because it's not working. Like you could be starting to get a little bit of traction, but then, and I've had experience in getting traction and seeing the small traction and building it up. But there's just this crushing sense of self-doubt and self-consciousness specifically to video that I think we feel, and that I think if we can find a way to get over that, I think it'll be good for us. If you don't have any interest whatsoever in doing video, that's totally cool. Don't do it. You know what I mean? But I think more and more people do, and it's just hard to do because of the self-doubt. All right. scary, credible phishing attempt. So this is wild. This is a tweet I saw yesterday. Peter Gunst on Twitter was just subjected to the most credible phishing attempt I've experienced to date. Here were the steps. Number one, so I'll summarize. Basically, gets a call, says there was an attempt to use your card in Miami, Florida. Was this you? So that's a credible first step. And then he's like, no. And then the Fisher guy is like, okay, we blocked the transaction. To verify that we're speaking to you, what's your member number? Gives him the member number, which by itself is not like private. And then he goes, we've sent a verification pin to your phone. Gets a verification pin directly from the bank, right? So probably what happened is the attacker goes in, uses the member number, uses a forgot password flow or something like that, which triggers a text message from the actual bank to him, right? And then asks for the verification pin, gets it, and then puts that in on his end to go through probably the reset password flow or log in, right? Two-factor auth. So he got phished on a two-factor auth. And then he reads off some of the transactions. He goes, okay, here's some of the transactions that we just saw, which of course are accurate because the phisher is logged into his account now. And then he's like, okay, we need to block your card, so we need your PIN number. And then at this point, the guy was like, he realized that he shouldn't be giving out his PIN, so he didn't do it. But that was it's wild how good the phishing attempts are getting, and you know it's kind of scary. Like I think a lot of us probably would have given that PIN number because at that point it's and by the way, they said perfect English accent. It just sounded very credible. So, and then on a related note, I got an email yesterday, which looked like it was coming from Mailgun, which is a service that I use. And so the sender was like support@mailgun.com, and it said, you've opened a ticket. Click here to click on the ticket. And I was like, I don't think I opened a ticket. Maybe my developer opened a ticket or something like that. So it seemed very believable. The URL, what was visible in the URL was mailgun.com / like a ticket number. But then the on click on that URL was a SendGrid generated link, which is also a pretty normal thing. If you're using SendGrid transactional or different, whatever transactional service, you'll have that type of a situation. But then that SendGrid link went to a totally other place. Now, when I clicked on it, Google Chrome intercepted it and said it was unsafe. So that was cool, but that was a super close call. And so phishing is just, it's getting gnarly out there. All right. Next up, shout out to Bemeir, 5th anniversary. So my buddy Meir Bianchi just celebrated the 5th anniversary of his company, Bemeir. Just wanted to take a moment to thank everybody for your support, partnership, mentorship, and encouragement. I'm eternally grateful for help and hope we can all succeed on this journey. And I just want to give Meir a big shout out. If you know Meir, you know how much positivity he brings and how excited he is about everything that he's up to and everything in the Magento community and e-commerce community. And it's been cool to watch his trajectory and watch the success of his business as his business has grown and as he started to meet up in Brooklyn and different things like that. And as he's also started some initiatives to give out, I believe, Magento certification vouchers and different things like that to people that are in need. So just a real positive force in the Magento community. And everybody that I know has a lot of love for Meir. So huge shout out. Congratulations, brother. Wish you all the continued success with the company. All right. Traveling and escapism. So I saw this tweet pop up yesterday by James Pierce. Travel begins to lose its appeal when you no longer want to escape from your life, which is kind of a powerful statement. And my buddy who retweeted it is somebody that does travel a good amount. And it's something I've been thinking about kind of a lot lately as I've been kind of pulling back from travel. You know, I usually go to the Magento Imagine conference. I've gone 7 years in a row. I didn't go last year. I didn't go to Meet Magento New York. I've gone to that 3 years in a row and just have been pulling back, focusing on health, eating well, eating better, losing weight and stuff like that. And I find that traveling on the one hand makes it really hard to eat well and to kind of keep those healthy habits. And that was a big part of the reason. But this escapism piece is really interesting because sometimes I think to myself, like, man, like I want to go somewhere. Like I even talked about it, I think that yesterday, the day before on the stream, that when I reach my weight goal of 190 pounds, I want to go to Puerto Rico to celebrate, which is cool. But it's like a lot of times I'll get into this mode where like, oh, I want to go somewhere. I want to be a digital nomad. I want to be somewhere else, right? That's what traveling is. I want to be somewhere else and do something else and have some variety. And that's cool. That's great. That can be super healthy, of course, but there is sort of an escapism component to it. And I think part of the mode that I'm in is like, hey, I want to build a life here, which I really enjoy and have a really nice balanced life between exercise, creative pursuits, family time, strengthening relationships with your family. When you travel, of course, if you have a family, you're spending time away from them, disrupting some of the routines and habits that you have built up. So yeah, I've just been in this mode of like, man, I want to just, really build a life that's really exciting. I'm a kind of a fan of the Joe Rogan podcast, and he, has this really cool, routine in life where like he does his podcast for like 2-3 hours a day. He does jujitsu every day, and then he goes to comedy clubs at night, and he just like, it's like, and he obviously has his family time and things like that. And he just kind of has like this perfect, combination of things, mix of things to, keep things interesting and sort of do the stuff that you love. And so, yeah, so I think it's cool. The idea of just building out basically a really cool life for yourself, where you live, and of course travel. I could probably do some more. It probably might be good for me. It's good to travel too, right? Like that's a positive experience, obviously, and helps you to grow in a number of unique ways as well. But yeah, I thought that was an interesting post there. All right, last one. See if I got any coffee left. Deity and bigcomerce partnership. So tweet from Deity, which is a PWA. Deity, we extend existing e-commerce platforms with high-performing service applications, empowering merchants to scale unlimited and deliver top PW experiences. One of the cool things about using Twitter to do these live streams is like sometimes like if I was going to summarize like what Deity is, I'd it's like it's awesome to just click on a profile, boom, you've got that just bio description to give a quick summary. It makes it really convenient. So we're happy to announce that we partnered up with bigcomerce and launched Falcon for bigcomerce, a fully hosted PWA to build the best commerce experiences. Contact us for more info. And then there's a link. And a couple things that's interesting about this. So for one, I mean, Deity came out of the Magento community. And so it sort of came out of this movement where, this sort of PWA movement, right? Like we're all seeing the importance of PWA. There's a number of community efforts. And I keep thinking to myself, man, like, so Magento has its own PWA studio, and that's been a bit delayed in development, which we're all aware of. And I've thought to myself, like, man, what if Magento partnered with these community efforts that are building out front ends and that are moving so quickly, like Deity is? And so then I see this, and it's like basically bigcomerce is doing what I sort of imagined that maybe Magento could have done. And so I think it's a great move, and that way obviously bigcomerce focuses on its core skills as far as their core platform, their core API. I'm not too familiar with the architecture, but I'd imagine, their core API is what is really powering this. And then, let the front end frameworks kind of do their own thing. So I think this is really cool to see. Obviously, huge congrats to the Deity team. I know a lot of people that are using Deity and are excited about it. I think it seems like Deity's doing a great job of partnering, building relationships and things like that, building partnerships. So huge congrats to them. And I think that's all I got. So Woo! Thanks for tuning in. I got to get ready to click stop streaming. Thanks for tuning in. What day is it today? Wednesday? I always lose track. Have a fantastic Wednesday.